junior colleague in my team got promoted to a manager position. And then it made me reflect, but why did that happen? And that's when I realized that once I had waited too long and I didn't necessarily push too hard to get that promotion and making my management realize why is it, what do they get by getting me promoted? So really just taking that perspective of what's in it for them.
You're listening to the Woman of Value podcast. You are about to hear the story of a woman who is following her dreams and passions and creating positive change in the world. My guest today is Richa Bansal. She is a leadership and job search coach with a decade of experience excelling in the corporate world on her terms. She worked before with Amazon, leading large-scale programs to help them hire the best talent, and with Schlumberger, leading a large engineering team to deliver multi-million-dollar projects for global oil field clients like Exxon, Mobil, Shell, and BP. Welcome to the podcast, Richa.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Me too. So, first question always is, what does woman of value mean to you, Richa?
So it's such an interesting question. And as I was preparing for our conversation today, I had to reflect deeply on what does really women of value mean to me. And this is kind of what I thought I came up with. Women and a lot of like women of color too, we often judge ourselves with that external yardstick. Okay. And it starts from way back as we are little kid, all the way from school, where we are judged by the grades that we get, and then it's all about the job that we get and the quality of the job. And is it like a Fortune 500? Is a big job. We're judged by the type of job that we get and the salary that we make. And then when we are in the workplace, we're judged by how fast are we able to get a promotion. So we are always like judging ourselves with that external yardstick. And even at home, we're judging ourselves with how clean our house is, and all of these external yardstick that we put on ourselves. And I really think about it, that social media makes it worse, because a lot of FOMO creeps in, whether it's from LinkedIn as we think about a professional career, or from Instagram, Facebook as we think about a personal one. And really, for me, women of value is like, what is that internal yardstick that you want to have by which you want to measure progress? Okay? And so women of value really mean find that internal yardstick by which you say, no, I did the work. Like, I gave it my 100%. And that's why I'm always worthy. I'm always of value.
So the comparison between the external yardstick and the internal yardstick, which is really more universal. So you mentioned women of color, which I'm sure there are certain challenges that are present for women of color rather than, Caucasian women. But we all judge ourselves with
Absolutely
that external yardstick. And I never worked in corporate, but I can imagine how there's so much judgment within the corporate world and so much lack of fairness as well. And so whether we're judging ourselves at work or at home or within our relationships and we're comparing ourselves to other people, we really have to focus within.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. So tell us about your journey to finding your value.
I think my journey to finding my values started very, very young. And I credit a lot of that to my parents and how they raised me to always be seen as equal to my brother, and whatever I can do it was equal to what my brother can do. He is now a surgeon. I'm a corporate veteran turned career coach, business entrepreneur. And just like finding my value just started there, where somebody was believing in me, and my parents believed in me for whatever I could do. And then later, as I started to get into the workforce, finding those mentors and allies, my very first manager believing that I can deliver on the goals that are set for myself. If I make a mistake, I will be able to rectify. And again, that reinforced the belief that I have in my ability to get results. Right? I think all of that built on top of each other, starting with our parents, to our mentors, to the best manager, one of some of the best managers that I've had, to then just really myself. I think once I've started getting that maturity that sometimes only comes with after we've had a certain time that we have spent in the workplace, that maturity comes to settle in. And slowly I realized that, at the end of the day, we can have the support from our parents and our bosses and our allies, but we have to believe in ourselves. We have to find that value ourselves, right? Taking feedback from all of those that support us around us.
Yeah, so that's wonderful that your parents believed in you and believed that you could do whatever your brother could do. That's not always the case in families in general, but that's a wonderful way to start your life. And I'm curious to hear more if you can share about some of the mistakes you made, because we want to hear about your humanity, not just all the roadblocks that, now you're here and you're doing great, but what are some of those things that maybe you had some self-doubt or you made mistakes that you learned from?
I think one of the very first mistake that I did was not asking for the promotion fast enough. Okay, not asking for that promotion fast enough, and really just relying that my hard work is going to take me to places. Because for decades, women have been taught to put their head down and work hard and not brag about your work, because bragging is not good. And the hard work would pay off for itself. And so I took time to really ask for that promotion. And even when I did, I assume that everybody will have good intent, and whenever the time is right, because they told me, yes, we have noted that you are ready for a promotion. We have noted that you aspire to a leadership role. And once we are working on it, and once we find that leadership role, you will get promoted. And I waited and I waited and I waited until I saw that somebody else, a junior colleague in my team, got promoted to a manager position. And then it made me reflect, but why did that happen? And that's when I realized that once I had waited too long and I didn't necessarily push too hard to get that promotion, and really making my management realize, why is it, what do they get by getting me promoted? So it's really just taking that perspective of what's in it for them, instead of thinking about what was in it for me. I think that was really the first mistake, and really the realization that if I need to get promoted and need to advance at the workplace, I have to really put myself in the shoes of my management and make a business case for what's in it for them if they were to promote me. And that's something that my colleague had done well. So that's I would say one of the first mistakes that I noted and learned from. One of the other ones is, I want to say, I learned it the hard way too, and maybe you learned a little bit later, is to speak up in meetings, okay, and not let the imposter syndrome take over me being able to share what I have to share, and not let imposter syndrome come in the way of progress, my career progress. So that's the other one that I would say. And I'll give you an example. When I first started, I started my career journey as a field engineer. So I used to work in offshore oil rigs for a bit. But when I first come into the technology center, I had a lot of imposter syndrome around, is my engineering good enough? Right? And I would get into these teams with senior engineers, and they had a lot more experience. I didn't necessarily have the kind of experience they had. So when I would get into meeting rooms with them, where a lot of technical discussion is happening, the imposter syndrome would take over, and then I was kind of shy away from speaking up in these meetings, until one day I realized that if I don't speak up in these meetings, I'm going to continue being the fly on the wall. Okay, I'm going to continue being the fly on the wall. And then I also realized that if I do speak, people actually listen. So I should speak. I should tell my imposter syndrome, thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for thinking about me. And I understand that you don't want to, you want to prevent me from exposing myself, but I got this. And it's only when I will speak, then I will get better at it. And I think that's a journey that has taken me to now where I'm able to speak openly about what are my values, what do I care about, what's the change I want to make. But all of that started from that one mistake that I was making when I was a young employee back in my career.
Those are really important lessons. I think so many people were taught, number one, not to brag, like you said, not to speak up about ourselves and to talk about our accomplishments and what we're doing for the company and why it would benefit them to promote us. And so a lot of people stay silent for way too long in that area. And also women speaking up in meetings, it's not so simple all the time because often men will speak over women or they will not be allies to women. And it's important to have a work environment that supports women speaking up, but also overcoming all the saboteurs, the imposter syndrome, you're not good enough, and realize that you are. And that each time you speak up, it gives you the power, the confidence to speak up again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really just starts with us, right? So once you overcome those internal saboteurs, we can enlist allies in the workplace. Okay. And so one example, as you said, sometimes people do speak over women, and that can really be unnerving. That can really squash our confidence. But then how can we think about, can you enlist allies to support you in those meetings? If you have an idea that you want to share in the big leadership meeting, and you feel not really confident, or you are the type of person who's a little bit more shy and reserved, and it's not the most comfortable speaking in meetings, can you enlist your manager as an ally? Can you enlist a trusted colleague as an ally and let them know, hey, I have this idea that I want to share in the meeting. This is some of the struggles that I have, and I would really appreciate if I don't speak up in this meeting, to call me out and in a nice way and say, hey, Richa, remember we discussed this idea early this morning. Would you want to share with the team? And enlist allies to be able to help you.
If you have ever played small to make other people feel comfortable, or maybe stayed in a bad relationship or job too long because you didn't think you could do any better, I wrote a book for you. It's called Becoming a Woman of Value: How to Thrive in Life and Love. Each of the 30 chapters contains a life lesson, a story, and an exercise to bring you closer to reaching your full potential. Becoming a Woman of Value is available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. You have a little sign behind you. I would love for you to read that because I keep focusing on that as you're talking. It seems like it goes well with this conversation.
Absolutely. It says, be fearless in the pursuit of what sets you free.
So tell me what that means to you.
So I'm a big proponent of having fearless careers and fearless lives. Okay. And fearless really is just, you should not have regrets when you are when you are 80 years old and you reflect back to your life. Don't have regrets, right? We should not have regrets. And if you have any, if you think that, oh, like, why did I not go for that opportunity? Or why did I not reach out to this person for informational chat? Or I could have tried this particular business venture, or I could have gone and done this particular activity. Do it, go do it. Don't have regrets. And that's really what being fearless is all about. That having that belief in yourself that even if I fail, I got my back. I've gotten my back in the past. So even if I fail in the future, I've got my back. I can figure it out. I'm a problem solver. Just having that mindset and really fearlessly pursuing whatever sets your soul on fire.
I like that. So you've had quite the career trajectory. You've gone from Amazon to Schlumberger, engineering, working with oil companies, and now you're a leadership and job search coach. Tell us about what brought you here and what you're doing today.
Yeah, I have had a very non-linear career. When I think about, I worked in multiple domains. I worked in oil and gas. I worked in technology. I'm a career coach now. I work for IT consulting firms, and I've also worked across functions. I am an engineer by background, and I've done my MBA along the way. I worked in supply chain, manufacturing, corporate strategy, and as I said, now I'm a career coach. And really, so my company that I run is called Pink Careers, and it's a social enterprise that supports women in advancing in leadership roles. And my mission is to close the gender gap in the C-suite. And really that mission was inspired by my own career journey through the energy industry, through the tech industry, but I've often found myself to be the only woman around the leadership table. And the work that I do at Pink Careers is, it started as a way for me to share some of the learnings that I was having as I was advancing to leadership positions with other women, so that they don't have to make all of the mistakes that I have. Because don't we all learn from our mentors and from those people who are 2 steps ahead of us? Right? So that's kind of where we all started from. At this point, I do a lot of work with the government of Canada. I run a large women's leadership program across multiple departments in the government of Canada. And then I work with women to help them really see their brilliance, to help them overcome career limiting beliefs so that they can get the compensation and careers they truly deserve.
I loved your mission. It's beautiful. So
Thank
tell
you.
us about some of your dreams for the future.
So I think if I really like close my eyes, I want to see a place where we as women, we just like stop self-sabotaging ourselves, whether it be in the corporate workplace or whether it be at home. Okay, and what do I mean with that? Like in corporate workplace, a little bit easy from some of the examples that I've given through my conversation, where we are going forward, we are raising our hand for those high visibility opportunities, and we get those high visibility opportunities. And I think that's a combination of both us raising our hand, but then also those who are in positions of power pulling us too. Right. And that's why I focus with my work on not just supporting individual women in enhancing their confidence and learning some of the strategies that will help them move forward. But I also work with leaders so that they can support the women in their teams. Okay, so that's kind of what it means in corporate. And at home, empowering women to believe that if they have a partner, it's an equal partner. Okay, in every which way. And so I have 2 little kids at home. Me and my partner, I like to believe, and I think we do have an equal partnership at home, where we have equal responsibilities for caring for our kids. If they have classes, I'm not the only one running to take my kids to classes. My partner takes 50% of that load. I make breakfast and he puts dishes. And so how can we really be empowered to take that 50% partnership in also everything that we do at work, and not limit ourselves in whatever dreams we have for our personal lives, So be fearless in the pursuit of creating that professional life that you want, but then also the personal life that you have. And it's back to that can happen only when we have lots of support around us. Won't necessarily say help, because your partner is not necessarily helping you, but they are supporting in being that 50% partner.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big mistake people make. It's like, can you help out with the kids? Well, they're your kids too.
Yeah.
And it's really all about the relationship and how you set it up, and the asking, and really having those meetings together to make sure that everybody is doing well with the roles that they play in the home and outside the home. And I love that you keep bringing it back to both at work and at home, because it really is about alignment with your whole life. It's not, your life doesn't just work in this kind of compartmentalized way, right?
Absolutely. I don't think we can grow and accelerate in our careers if we don't have alignment at home. And I love what you said about one of the mistakes that I've seen many women, my clients, my friends, make is they would say, can you help me with this? But it's an equal partnership. And in the beginning, you may have to train. I'm loosely use that word. You may have to train your partner. You may have to educate your partner on some of the challenges that you may have, and have those meetings on how they can have equal distributed workload at home. And I do acknowledge, and I do believe that women do take more of the mental workload, which I agree as well. I do as well, more of the mental workload at home, but at least the physical workload, how can you have that equal partnership? And so educate, train, and after you've done that, stop framing it as that, can you help me with this? But you are already working towards that agreement that you are doing that 50% workload.
Yeah, it's all about agreements. And, I was just thinking about this today. I was taking a walk and I was watching a woman training her dog, and she would stop every few feet and then have the dog stop. And this was a dog that used to bark like crazy when I would walk by the house. And so I can see the difference in the training and what it does. And I think the mistake many people make is they don't, first of all, identify what's important to them. And then the second part is they don't communicate it and they don't have agreements. And so if we don't do that from the start of a relationship, whether it's with a spouse or a work partner or with our children, I mean, it's much harder to do on the other end. You're constantly nagging and driving everybody crazy because you haven't been clear about what the agreements are and what will make the family or the work environment or your parent-child relationship work in harmony. So that training, so to speak, is really about agreements, and it's about knowing yourself and knowing the relationship and what will help it thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great point that you mentioned that you have to let others know what you want, be your partner at home or your kids or your manager in the workplace, because nobody can read our minds. And if we don't tell people what do we want, then all we get is internal frustration, because then we are expecting a result to happen without others knowing what result they should bring to you, right? So it's all about asking. And one of the sayings that's my favorite saying is that quiet ambition kills careers.
Yeah. I
There's
mean, I
no
think in general, like we have to speak up and we have to state what we want and need, and nobody can read minds. So like you experienced quiet ambition in the beginning of your career. It did not work out really well for you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want that networking connect, go ask, right? If you want your manager to provide you with high visibility opportunities, go ask. Let them know this is what your career aspirations are, and ask them for support on what are some of the skills you should be building, what are some of the opportunities you should be partaking, who should you be connecting with. Really ask for that support and letting them know that this is my aspiration, these are my goals.
Yeah, I love that because people can't give you what you want if you don't ask for it. They may
Absolutely.
say no, but you get nothing if you don't ask. And so,
Nope.
right, you increase the chances of getting what you want if you speak up. We're going to move into the lightning round now, Richa. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. Fill in the blank. I used to think I wasn't blank enough.
I used to think I wasn't smart enough.
You and everybody else, right? It's like crazy. It's so silly. Like I had this idea that if I don't work hard enough, if I don't really work to my potential, nobody will know whether I'm smart enough. And so I underperformed in high school, and I was kind of hiding behind that, oh, they'll never know. And then I realized, what am I doing? Like, this is ridiculous. Next question is, what was the number one thing holding you back from becoming a woman of value?
Not asking for what I want.
Shocked by that answer. What is the best advice you can give to a woman who wants to become more empowered?
The best advice that I can give to not just women, but anybody who would listen is that it's your career, it's your life. And so if you are not in the driver's seat of your career, if you're not in the driver's seat of your life, somebody else will be. Okay. Your boss would be, your partner would be, your company would be, even the economy, from the context of back to jobs, job search or career, your economy would be in the driver's seat of your career. So be the owner of your career, take charge of the steering wheel, because it's your career, it's your life.
I like that. The people will treat you as an option if you don't assert what you need. You'll be somebody's last minute option. You will not be important to them if you're not important to yourself. So be in the driver's seat. I like it. What advice would you give to your younger self, Richa?
The advice that I would give to my younger self is be fearless. That you got it, you will figure it out. If you fail, that's never the end of the world. So that's the advice that I would give to my younger self. Try anything and everything. Raise your hand for the scary stuff. Be it, when I was little, I did some of it, and I could have done more of it. I jumped from the airplane. I did the scuba diving, but I could have done even more. And so, all that's the advice I give to all of my 20 something cousins at this point, is just be fearless and you will be fine.
Yeah, have those opportunities, like take advantage of what's available. So many people live in fear and they have regrets because they never got to experience all of what life has to offer. So it's good advice. Get out there, raise your hand for the scary stuff. Good thing to say. What is something that people often get wrong about you?
Well, a friend of mine put it this way one time, that I'm like a coconut. And I'm hard on the outside, I'm soft on the inside. And so, some people think that I'm really, really strong, which I am most of the time, but I also get very soft and mushy sometimes. And I went inside my coaching programs, some of my conversations start with, "Oh, I'm gonna get a little philosophical on you," and then I get a little soft and mushy. I think people sometimes don't get that I'm like a coconut, hard on the outside and soft and mushy on the inside.
Yeah, I like that. My TEDx talk is about that actually. I use candy as the metaphor, but it was about how I used to be soft on the outside and hard on the inside. Or no, soft. No, I was hard on the outside, which made it really difficult for people to get to know me. And the soft part for me was actually a weakness. It was a lack of understanding of my values and standing for what was important to me. So the way you're describing it is very different. This is really that you may appear to be tough, but you're really mushy and soft and sweet on the inside.
Yeah, I think I really do believe empathy is one of my superpowers. And so with the soft piece is really like, I really I try to lean into my empathy once I get to know somebody and once somebody gets to know me.
That's a great superpower. And finally, Richa, how would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as somebody who left the world a little bit better than they found it. And the vehicle that I've chosen is the coaching work that I do to support the advancement of women in leadership. But really, like as an overall in my personal life as well, I just want to be known as somebody who leaves the world a little bit better than the way they found it, by raising good citizens, good kids, good citizens, and just doing powerful work.
That's a good goal, and you're already doing it. So that's amazing. Share with us one of the links that we can find you at, maybe your website, and the rest of your social media and everything will be in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So people can find me through LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. If they search by Richa Bansal, then I would come up and they can follow me there. I would love to say hi if somebody wants to say hi to me on LinkedIn. And then on my website, people can go to pinkcareers.com/promotion. And a lot of the conversation that we had today, some of the strategies that we shared today as well on how you could be a woman of value have captured in that link. And so that's another place you can connect with me.
Awesome. And just spell your name so people can find you on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Richa, as in R, I for ice cream, C for Charlie, H for Henry, and A for Apple. Richa and Bansal, BAN for Nancy, Sam, AL for Larry.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sam.
So many
Larry,
times I'm
Richa.
kind of spell that out on phones. I'm like, okay, that's how I do that.
Yeah, I know people mishear everything when you're trying to spell your name. So thank you for spelling, because I had a feeling that some people are going to hear your name and not know how to find you. But thank you so much, Richa, for coming on the show and sharing your fearlessness and how you overcame a lot of your saboteurs to become the woman of value you are today, helping other people to be the best they can be.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
And thank you. And thanks everybody for listening. If you love our show, please give us a high rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Share this podcast with your friends. And as always, be a woman of value. If you would like to step more fully into your value, grab a free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Woman of Value on my website, thewomanofvalue.com. Just click the link at the top of the homepage. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to click the subscribe button in your listening app. And if there's something in this episode that inspired you, please share it with others, because the more we share these inspirational stories, the more women of value we will have in this world. I'll see you next time.